Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the People's Choice Podcast. And I'm here with a very special guest. This is my first time I really get to talk about real estate and everything. So for all my real estate heads out there, for my past guests or, maybe future ones, this right here is the staple, or I should say the cornerstone of it starting. So Bryan, you're making history here. Now I'm here with a good man. His name is Bryan Navichoque Cabello. All right. Got that, man. Yes. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. You've been watching me, supporting for a while too. And also thank you, brother, by the way, too, for that fresh choice code thing. That really helped out too. I had a delicious meal. So thank you for joining me here. And let me give you the clap and welcome to the People's Choice Podcast.
Thank you for having me so much, man. Honestly, I'm really grateful. I've been wanting to do my own podcast, and just being on a podcast now is really fun. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, man, it's so much fun. And if you ever want any like tips or advice on podcasts, and I'll definitely help you with that. I've been doing this now for about almost 2.5 years, going on 3, and a lot of ups and downs, a lot of pains and what's that? Hills and valleys, but man, I love it though. And I think you would too, especially if you love meeting people and talking with people, which I'm pretty sure you do in your line of work. So yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yeah. Got to get used to it if you want to do something like this.
Definitely, man, definitely. And always keep in your mind like you're just having fun. Just like this. Let me take this off so I can have more fun and get more comfortable.
There you go.
All right. So for my first question, Bryan, where are you from? And what's your favorite thing about where you're from?
So yeah, I'm actually from Sanford, North Carolina. I was born in the right, for real. I was born in Central Carolina Hospital. Probably won't get a whoop whoop for that.
Not at all. No, they're neck and neck with Cape Fear, of like worst hospitals in North Carolina.
It is what it is. I mean, gotta be honest about it. So
facts.
But yeah, I was born and raised here in town. I did live in Texas for 1 year, and that was during my middle school years. But I quickly moved back, and I mean, I've been here most of my life now. So coming up on 26 years old, and most of my life I've been here. So
congrats, man. I remember 26 like it was just last year. Oh wait, it was. I do got a birthday coming up though, so hey, it's crazy. Yeah, man, that's awesome though, man. So what's your favorite part? Here? Oh no, actually I was born in Connecticut. I was born in Waterbury, Connecticut. I lived there till I was 12, then came to North Carolina, lived in Lillington, Fayetteville, Springer Lake. I work in Sanford, so I know Sanford very well. A lot of good friends of mine in Sanford. So yeah, I just been here literally, I would say from from 12 basically, so teenage years all the way to adulthood. So I'm pretty much from North Carolina. I should just say that. But when people hear me talk, they're like, yeah, you ain't from here. You don't got an accent. You talk proper. What's going on?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So what brought you and your family down from Connecticut though?
Oh man, it's crazy. So like Connecticut was it's crazy because people down here, they hear Connecticut and they think like, oh man, it's it's uppity, it's rich, all great stuff, skyscrapers and all that. And that's true. Yeah, let's say it's true. Or The Conjuring, yeah, or The Haunted in Connecticut, like some of those crazy things. But where I'm from in Waterbury, like it's pretty much like the ghetto, the project. Anybody that's from there knows that, like, so it was just really rough. And my dad, he was into that street life and stuff and everything, but decided, like, because I think I had a uncle, like a great uncle, not like uncle, but yeah, he ended up passing, and my dad came down here in North Carolina and went to the funeral and everything. And just decided, like, man, my kids were getting older. Like I was 12 at the time. I got an older sister who was in her teenager. I think she was like 15, and I got a little brother. So he was just like, man, I don't want to raise my family in Connecticut because, and it's crazy, man. Kids, literally like kids get into gangs and stuff. Like gangs are really big up there, and drug dealing and all this other stuff. So my dad thought, hey, why don't I just bring my family to North Carolina? We'll start from scratch. We have to. It's just it was that crazy, So and that's what we did. It was crazy. A lot of heartaches and pains, but it was for the best. I love my dad for that because, man, there's no telling where. Like a lot of my friends that I grew up with, a lot of them are either in jail or dead. So it's crazy out of Connecticut. So I'm glad for that, and that's why we came down here and just trying to make a path, our own paths. All of my siblings and family and just different things. I decided to choose podcasting. I did try other things. I tried football. I tried MMA. I tried literally a lot of things, but so far this is stuck. So hopefully this takes off one day.
A little bit of a jack of all trades.
I try, man. I try. Got I had to teach everything myself, like just how to get comfortable with the camera. Finally, sound, lighting, editing, all that. So yeah, man. I feel like I'm getting interviewed. This is crazy. This is good though. I like it. I don't really get a chance to. I mean, for my peeps, I don't know. I do got a couple guest appearances I'm gonna be doing pretty soon on different podcasts. So shout out to you, Soul Quest podcast. I'll be on there pretty soon, and a couple others to kind of just tell my story at why I took this break. Because actually, I've been on a break for like 4 months, and I went through my own, pun intended, Soul Quest journey and discovering myself. Went through a lot of different heartaches and health problems and stuff. So it was cool to get back and talk and let my peeps know like why I've been gone, and now I'm back, and I'm back like I forgot something, man. I'm going hard at this, and I'm excited.
It's the comeback story now.
Exactly, man. And this comeback story, I get to meet great people like you and many others, man. My peeps are going to be so excited for some of the guests that I have. So let's get back to you. How long have you been an agent for?
So I got my license back in December 31st of 2020. So
Awesome.
that was an interesting one. Like even that story in and of itself, it was crazy because I took the class, and for anyone that maybe wants to become a real estate agent in their lifetime, at least for North Carolina, I paid, if I remember correctly, it was about a total from the class, paying for the test, the books, I think it was about $1,000, and it took me a
Uh-huh.
month and a half to complete the course, and then it was another month until I was scheduled to take my actual exam. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, there's like three other classes you gotta take, but at that point, you're already licensed. Though you are a provisional broker, kind of like a permit for kids that are learning how to drive, kind of that kind of
Awesome.
thing. So,
So
um,
congrats for that, man. And
thank
that
you.
was around the COVID era. You said 2020. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
So, it was interesting because like when I during COVID, we had a month off. I was working as a welder for Caterpillar for beforehand,
Okay,
and
awesome.
yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I like working with my hands, but I wanted to do something else, and so I play Magic the Gathering. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like a
Uh,
trading card game.
yeah, actually, yeah, I do. Yep, I know that.
Yeah. So I played that a lot. I played with some friends, and one day one of my friends was like, "Hey man, like why don't you're really technical with the rules and stuff. You really know what you're talking about. Why don't you use that understanding of rules and laws for something else?" And I was like, "Okay."
Oh,
And
who's
my
your friend that did
fiance,
that, man? Let's shout out to your friend and
oh shout out, that's Nicholas Reed, yo, that's my brother right there.
All right,
We
shout
ride
out Nicholas,
motorcycles
man.
together. Yeah, we ride motorcycles, play Magic. He's my brother. So, um, but yeah, after he said that, my fiance had walked in and she was like, "Yeah, why don't you try real estate?" And I was like, "You know what? Like, yeah, why not? Why not give it a shot?" So after that, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad over the summer, which hands down, great book. Highly recommend it. Anybody who wants to change their life, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It might not all be accurate, but it is a really, really strong base for anyone who wants to get into real estate. So it's really good. So I read the book. I signed up for my class. It started taking it. I believe it was the end of October. Like I said, it was about a month and a half. And then for once I completed the class, it was all online, all virtual, right? I mean, it was during the COVID time, so a lot of webcam and like talking through microphones. It was kind of weird, but got used to it. Um, Afterwards, I scheduled for my exam, and it was for December 28th of 2020. That was when I had to go take my exam, and it was in Charlotte. Like I said,
Mm.
I ride motorcycles. I had some friends that lived up in Charlotte, so I rode my motorcycle from here to Charlotte, which is like 3 hours, going through like Albemarle and all that. And I went to my friend's house. They weren't there. I showed up early. I was studying for like 3 or 4 hours once I got there. And then afterwards, I just immediately drove to the test site. I took the test, passed it on my first try. I was like
Man,
kind of like
congrats.
shaky a little bit, like, no way, dude.
Hey, when you want something bad, man, and it's time to really either go get it or you're gonna fail, man, you just the nerves, man. I know exactly how it is.
It's either gonna
Man,
happen or it's not. But luckily, thank God, it really did. And got my certificate in the mail, and it was set for December 31st, 2020, which I think is really cool because like the very last day of the year, that's when I got
hmm,
licensed. I was like, that's what's up. Um,
definitely.
yeah. After
That,
that, I was basically not practicing yet. I had my provisional license, like I said, but I didn't like the provisional license title because,
mhm,
again, for anyone who wants to do that, once you get your provisional license, you're still kind of restricted. So you can
mhm,
write offers, you can submit contracts for your buyers, or you can get sellers under contract as well. Whatever you want to really do, even work with rentals and stuff. But the
mhm,
thing is, any contract that you write has to be um, overseen by your BIC or broker in charge. So
mhm.
that would be the boss of the firm. Boss, pretty loose term there. I mean, you're an independent contractor, but they're the ones that manage the firm more or less, and they have to revise every single contract you write. I didn't like that. I like to kind of, go in guns blazing. So I took my
My own boss, man.
exactly.
You know.
I don't know. I don't like bothering people like that because it's like it was a crazy time. So many people were getting competitive offers, and like honestly, like before I got my first client under contract, we had wrote 10 offers. Like that's
Shit.
how crazy it was. So I didn't want to have my broker in charge having to revise every single one. So it's like, all right, let me go ahead and knock out my post licensing classes. It was 3 different classes. Those were about $700. So you add that on top of the original 1,000 that I had spent. And once I passed those 3 classes, then I was considered a full broker. So now I can do my own thing. I still have to work with a firm because I'm still fresh, but I can basically do my own thing. I don't need any oversight, which is really good. Um,
Mhm.
Once I got all that squared away, that was around April. At that point, that's when I took my first client on and I went ahead and started actually working. It was part
Was that
time,
was that April of 2021?
2021. That's right.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Heck yeah.
And you say you was part time at the time, right?
Yeah, I was part time because I was still working as a welder at Cat, and
Mm-hmm.
um, they say that for a lot of businesses, maybe this isn't the same with real estate agents, but for a lot of businesses that start and open up, typically those first 2 years, you're not really going to make any income. You're going to be negative all the time. But you have to be able to like withstand it. And if you can get past that second year, then typically that's when stuff starts to go up and grow. So I was really scared of that, and I didn't want that to happen to me. Just kind of being in the negative is not something that I want to think about.
Hell no. I don't want to be in the negative. I don't see no red, nothing.
Yeah, dude. That's
we're
scary,
we're
man.
trying to go up in life, man. you know.
For real, yeah, for real.
But that's awesome, man. That you had that in mind. You still was doing welding, then you did part time. Then you made the switch to full time, right? So what was that whole process like? And discussing it with your family, friends, fiance, everything. Switching over because I know it had to be kind of scary going from what basically welding where it's kind of guaranteed you're going home with a paycheck then you go to full time where it's like you got to hustle and work and work. What was that whole thing like?
So I knew that I could take on my first client, but I could only work with like a handful of people at most when I was doing the part-time stuff. And I was talking to my family about it. My mom, she used to do Herbalife. I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's like kind of like supplements that they sell, like door-to-door salesman kind of thing. She also
Okay,
sold
being a
like
salesman.
yeah, like corsets and just she sold an amalgamation of things. So um she was very supportive and very strong. She's like, you used to come with me every single time I would go and do a presentation for some clients. Like, Bryan, you know what you need to do. I was like, okay, like that's really
Awesome.
inspiring. And my dad, he worked for a car dealership, and he was kind of like a translator for them, so he would help them with the sales and whatnot. So he was also kind of like pushing, like, you just got to hustle and you got to get it done.
Yeah, so
And
you come from hustlers, man. I see it already.
got
That's
to,
what's up,
yo,
man.
got to. Ain't no stopping, yo. Uh,
Facts.
and then like my fiance, she was super supportive of it too, as well as like my friends and family. Like just overall, it was a very like, go for what feels comfortable for you, and talking for you is like normal, Brian. So just go for it. And I was like, okay, so um, but before that, obviously, I try to be as transparent as possible. I don't like bullshitting people, so I'll be very straight up about it. When I left CAT, I did pull out a portion of my 401k so that it could help sustain me because I was scared that I wasn't gonna be able to get a steady check once I went full time, which happened in July of 2021. So that was a very scary time. I think in 2021 I had a total of 3 transactions. So
Mhm.
it's not a lot, my guy.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
What is the average? Is that they say like a real estate agent have? Is it somewhere like around 12 or something like that? I was doing so much research. I was trying to figure out what's the I kept seeing that number 12 somewhere, and I was like, is that the average, or is that how much you should want in a year, or what? Like, I don't know. What is
for
that? Yeah.
transactions, if
Hmm.
it's 12 transactions, you are comfortably living. I would say, like, depending on the price of the house and how the commission is split up, you're going to be looking about 40 to $60,000 for 12 transactions.
Awesome.
So a transaction a month, essentially. Um,
Awesome. Awesome.
but that first year, only getting three, woo, man, that was scary. Yeah,
Oh
so.
man, was there ever a moment where you thought like, man, maybe I should just go back to welding or try something, because that is scary, like you said, three.
I'll definitely say I thought about it every day. It's as a real estate agent, you're on a roller coaster every day. That's just kind of what it is. And the main reason for that, even if you have like a steady system going on in terms of like getting new leads, talking to new clients, going and showing houses, submitting contract, like you have everything like planned out, right? Even if you have it that way, you still have personal experiences with people that make you question whether or not you really want to continue this on. I mean, I've had conversations where people will just straight out cuss me out because I give them accurate information of what's wrong with the property. And then they'll try to tell me how to do my own job. And I start asking myself, like, if I have issues with my heart and I go to a doctor and he says I'm about to get a heart attack, I'm not going to start arguing with him about it because he's the professional here, not me. So
Mm-hmm.
why would someone do the exact same thing? It's like people don't respect the profession, which, I mean, it's understandable. Salesmen, there's some people that do it in a shady way,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of brings everybody else to look bad. But at the same time, it just kind of keeps in the back of your mind, like, am I really doing something that I want to continue on because there's extra hurdles that you have to go through? I'm still happy to help people, but when you have those ungrateful folk that are just rude and disrespectful,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, man, dude, like, all right, that's okay.
Like, I think I helped you enough. We got to part ways.
That's when
So,
you start referring clients over, like, hey, man, you should come on.
so that's what it is now. So how many homes have you helped people purchase since you started from, let's say, from, I know you said you was at three in July, but like, let's say from start to like where you're at currently.
20 now.
Woo! Congrats, man. That's what's
Thank
up.
you,
Let
thank
me get
you.
a round of applause for that, man. That is awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It's been a challenge, man. Some of them are really, straightforward, and through God's grace, it's just something that there's not hiccups going on. The lender's on point, the sellers are cooperating, the listing agent is responsive, like everything is just falling into place. And then there's those other times where like you are having to fight tooth and nail for your client, man. Like thinking now just of December by itself, I had a client almost lose $5,000 in due diligence money from a lender's fault, then a seller not willing to understand to the changes. Like it got super hectic, but by the end of it, the worst thing that ended up happening was we had to push the closing date by about a month. So
Mhm.
from there, they still got their house. They didn't lose their money. Everything was squared away. But man, I would pick up the phone and argue with this listing agent. Like it was getting really bad and really salty, and
Mhm.
it's not good, but at the same time, it's like that's $5,000 on the line. That's my client. I'm not gonna let them lose that. Like that. This is important.
Facts.
So. you
And
know.
that's so important, I think, for like all the viewers and my peeps, and other people knowing that you will go to bat for them as hard as you can, because yeah, like I said, that's 5,000. It's not like mega millions or anything like that, but that's still a lot of money for people putting their hard work in. So if he was my real estate agent, I'd be happy. Like, yeah, look at him. Yeah, cuss that mother effer. Better not screw me on this.
Nah, man. Yeah, we fight, dude. We really do. We really, really do. It's one of those things where I would say, like I said in the analogy before, the roller coaster, when you are able to argue or fight for your client and you get the
Mhm.
win, that is like you're riding the roller coaster up really, really high, and you just feel so good because you're just like, man, like if it wasn't for me, this would have fell through. If it wasn't for me, they would be gone right now, and they would just be like, well, fuck, I'm out this money. What am
Mhm.
I supposed to do now? So it's a roller coaster ride every day. So.
And that's crazy. I'm glad you're not motion sickness, man. If it's a roller coaster ride every day, man. So do you help mostly just buy houses, or do you buy and sell?
So I do work with buyers and sellers, but I
Awesome.
work mostly with buyers. So I
Awesome.
would say that on the sales side, it's a little easier to manage things because you're more like kind of playing defense and responding towards what the buyers are looking for.
Hmm.
But the way that we operate at Sanford Surrounded, which is the firm that I'm working for right now, we go ahead and all the things that buyers usually do, that home inspection, you have an
Hmm.
appraisal done, you're trying to make sure you know everything that's going on with the house. Some listing agents, they're just like, you know what? Here's a house for sale, figure it out. That's it. It's like even if there's an HOA, it's like no name of the HOA, no phone number, no nothing to try to get the information. Like you have to start digging yourself as a buyer's agent. We don't really like that when we have to do that as Sanford Surrounded as a buyer's agent, and we recognize that, and we want to offer as much as we possibly can to help everybody in the process. I'm not trying to screw over a seller. I'm not trying to screw over a buyer. It might be my competition or whatever, but no reason to screw them over, right? It's a
Yeah.
mutual kind of exchange. So with that, what we do and we offer to our sellers is we do a pre-listing home inspection, something that the buyers already are going to want to do. We just go ahead and knock it out, and we
Hmm.
see what's wrong with the house. If there's any issues, we go ahead and show it to the MLS, or we let the sellers go ahead and decide if they want to fix those up front so that when a new buyer comes in, they can see what was wrong with the house from the home inspection, and they can see that the repairs were already made, so there's nothing for them to worry about. We even do
Hmm.
pre-listing home appraisals so that when we list our properties for sale and we say, hey, this is what our house is worth, this is our professional opinion, we get an appraiser to basically say like, hey man, I think this is what the house is worth, and it ends up lining up. So at that point, we're trying to make sure that we make it fair and valid for everyone because we can see and recognize that some people want to kind of take a little bit of advantage of what's going on, and that's not always right. So
Facts, man, definitely. And that's good that you guys go that full length, to do that. Like, and I feel like sick because there's some people that are sleazy, just looking to get the money, blah blah. But it's good to know that you got good people like yourself and your firm that helps out with people like that. So I definitely make sure I plug you in all the descriptions and everything. If people want to
uh,
hit you up, man, that's awesome.
heck
And
yeah.
have you done is commercials as well, like office buildings as well, or is it just home so far?
So at the moment, I haven't really fiddled too much with commercial real estate. I've shown it a few times, but I haven't really dipped my toe too far in. It seems like with commercial real estate, if you want to make it a profitable source of income or a livable source of income, it's a very heavily involved in your networking skills. Who do you know? As well as do you have time? Because a lot of
Mm,
those commercial deals, they tend to take years to get done. So, and there's a lot more research that gets behind it because, say, for example, like Caterpillar, if they would want to open up a new industrial warehouse somewhere in Sanford, well, there's going to have to be zoning laws that are passed to make sure that it is available to do that. Then you have to have environmental health scientists go out there to ensure that any kind of produce or any kind of waste that comes from that plant isn't going to affect the environment around it. And then from there, the county itself has to actually vote to allow it to even be done. So there's a lot of steps that are
I see.
involved.
Like, wow, man,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
So
It's awesome
for
though that you're on it.
yeah, I think commercial real estate for me personally, like I might show a few things here and there, but I don't think that would be my main thing. It would definitely just be working with residential buyers and sellers and new construction as well or land, but that's kind of where I tend to stay. So,
Awesome, brother. Awesome. And have you helped out in just the Sanford area, or have you helped out in other areas as well with residential?
I will say this is one of the good things about real estate. I work everywhere. There will
Awesome.
be some days where I might just show like two or three houses in Sanford, and it's like, oh, it's so good for gas money. But then there's other days where it's like I'm over in Middlesex or Zebulon or Lizard Lick. I don't know if you know those areas. Like
Elizabeth Lick Towing. I watched that show before.
that's in
That
North
was
Carolina, man.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was a hot show.
Yeah, I've been over to those parts. Matter of fact, just yesterday I hosted an open house in Creedmoor, which is north of Durham. I've sold houses in Fayetteville and Rayford area. I've shown some houses over in the Pittsboro, Solar City areas. Like, yeah, I'm all
Hey,
over.
you're
So
all over the Carolinas, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
Sanford's surrounded, man. We work the surrounding country or counties. So yeah.
That is awesome, man. For real. And I've talked to a lot of people about buying a house, especially after the pandemic and everything. A lot of people was like, "Oh man, it's probably the best time," and the market's just crazy. So, how do you help buyers compete in today's market for buying a home?
So when it comes to like buyers trying to buy a house, I always very, very transparent, very, very upfront. First off, I go ahead and go through a list of questions that I have, and I let them know up front, like, hey, this is not me trying to be like rude or disrespectful, because in our culture, it's a little weird to talk about money. I don't know why, but America's like, like you don't ask
Yeah,
me how much I make, right? It's very
yeah. It's
strange.
like your money, your business. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I go ahead and let them know up front, like, hey, I'm asking this so I can better help you. I ask from how much money they make to how much money they spend every month in bills. That's known as your DTI or debt to income ratio. This is very important for lenders when you want to go and apply for a loan. I ask for their credit scores as well, just so I can kind of get an idea to be very transparent. The majority of people, if you are under 640, it's going to be very difficult to apply for a loan. I'm not saying it's impossible. There are a few circumstances. However, it is going to be a lot more challenging. Typically, if you have a 640 or higher credit score, then you're going to be set for just about any loan. That's USDA, VA, conventional, FHA. I mean, you can basically do almost anything you want with that. So, um,
So,
the next
I hope all
thing,
my peeps got their notes out, man. This is some good
yeah,
stuff we're learning.
for real. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, rewind it if you
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to.
rewind it, clip it, share it, man. That was awesome. Like,
Oh
all right,
yeah.
what else we got? Let's.
So then another one is available funds that you have. I've had a few people come up to me and say like, "Hey, I have $1,500 or I have $2,000 and I want to buy a house right now." And just being realistic, the majority of the time that's not going to be enough to even cover your upfront costs. And those upfront costs are going to be your due diligence, earnest money, and inspections for the property. So typically within those three things, you're going to be passing the $2,000, and that's not even taking into account your final costs, and those are your closing costs, right? That's going to be the down payment for the loan. That's going to be the actual closing cost itself. So
Mm,
I do try to coach my buyers. If you're looking, and I think this is for the majority here, or at least the majority of people I speak with, between 150,000 to 250,000, I would strongly recommend that you have between $10,000 to $15,000 saved up and ready to buy a house. This isn't like money that you're also using for vacation and stuff. No, this is strictly to buy the house. $10,000 to $15,000. A lot of people, they get scared when you hear that. They start asking
hmm
questions like, well, what about the USDA loan? Or what if I get a NC housing where they cover my closing costs? And that is all possible. It definitely is. But at the same time, it's better to be over prepared than to have a uh-oh at the very end of the transaction where you can't even pay for it. So I always,
Definitely.
what's the word? Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, that's the great way to live, man. I always
Oh, I'm
ask
full of
quotes. I was gonna say I always ask quotes from my guests. That might be one of them, but we'll get there when
them.
we get there, brother.
Oh
So
yeah.
I know you talked about having that 640 or higher credit. Have you ever had to basically help someone buy a loan who has pretty bad credit or not the best credit in the world? And if so, like how difficult that process is, like doing that?
So at that point, it really is going to boil down to the loan type itself.
Hmm.
So there was a very, very big, I guess, not trend, but more of a statistic that was going around a lot lately.
Hmm.
A little bit of it wasn't wrong information. It wasn't it was more of like misguided. The quote was, or the saying was that VA loans do not have a minimum credit score requirement. This is a fact. VA loans do not have a minimum credit score requirement. That is from the VA itself, but the VA itself does not give you the loan. You still have to speak to a lender. So a lender would be your local bank, whether it's like Wells Fargo, BB&T. Even if you're working with like local lenders as well, a prime example here in Sanford, North Carolina, would be CMG Financial.
Hmm.
Chet Mann, who used to be the mayor of the town, he runs that CMG Financial location, and they'll have their own requirements within that loan company itself, whether it's a bank or a local company. They'll still have their own requirements. So the VA might not have a minimum credit score, but the lender that gives you the VA loan does have a minimum credit score. So I've spoken to a few of lenders. I've heard of one that would go all the way down to 540 if they need to for a VA loan. So, like I said, it's possible. It depends on the loan type itself, and it depends on the lender themselves to see what kind of requirements they have. So,
So there is hope out there for all my bad credit and or not so good credit people out there, because
that's true.
the stigma is that, you have to have like great credit, or nothing. Like I heard some people say like you need to have 700 or higher to get a house, which I know is bullshit, but there's people that really believe that, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh snap, so that's why I wanted to ask the question and hopefully, put some of that to rest. So for all my friends out there that have given me some bad advice over the years. All
I
my
will
peeps.
say
Yeah.
for if you have a higher credit score, it's going to be a good thing because then your interest rate will be lower. So if you're trying to get, the best monthly mortgage payment possible or the best interest rate possible, then you want to have a higher credit score. But if you're kind of like stuck in a corner and you're in a position where it's like you need to buy a house or you might be PCSing in the military and you don't want to just go and rent or live on the barracks and you have that lower credit score, but you're like so adamant about it, then that would be your minimum 640. I would say if you're there, then you should be fine. So,
Awesome.
I did touch a little bit on the DTI as well. That's your debt to income ratio.
Hmm.
What from what I've seen, talking to local lenders and mortgage brokers as well, which shout out to my mortgage brokers, they do a lot of work, man. Um, they try to say that for your debt to income ratio, you don't want it to be past 45% more or less. So that means that 45% of what you make every month goes towards your bills. If it's higher than that, that's not a good sign for the actual lender themselves. 45 being the high amount. They kind of want you to be, 30s or something, then more realistic, you can handle the payment and still save up money, but if you're going to have that big mortgage payment and you already have like 50% of what you make every month going to your bills, well, by the time that you get that mortgage payment on there, like, shoot, man, like, what do you have, like 10% left maybe for yourself or just ballparking a number there? Like, it's not really good or sustainable.
Yep, that's true. And I know people that's like, oh man, I got a little left over. Ball out weekend, like stuff like that. Now you don't want to do that at all, especially if you're looking to buy a house.
Be
So
responsible.
yep, definitely be responsible. And what are some things that could go wrong or like that has ever went wrong? I don't know if this has happened like during the final walkthrough, like that whole process of that.
So, knock on wood,
Yeah,
hasn't
no, wait,
happened to me
wait,
yet.
let me knock on mine. Yeah.
Hasn't happened to me yet on final walkthroughs. But typically what ends up happening if something is wrong in a final walkthrough, then we go ahead and take photos of what it is that might be wrong and we go ahead and address it to the listing agent. We let them and the closing attorney know that we're going to be postponing the closing until whatever is incorrect is addressed. Thankfully, though, here in the state of North Carolina, we have something that is known as the 7-day grace period. It used to be 14 days, but that got changed back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So now we're
Mm-hmm.
down to 7. Essentially, what that means is if the contract says that we're supposed to close on, I don't know, April, what is it, April 14th for simple math, because then 7 days would be the 21st. So
Mm-hmm.
April 14th, That's the day we're supposed to close. We do our
Mhm.
final walkthrough on the 13th. We see that there's some stuff that's wrong and we want the sellers to address it. We let the closing attorney know we got to postpone it. We let the listing agent know what is exactly wrong. We wait for a response from the sellers, from the listing agent as well. And then from there, we can go ahead and close on the 21st because we're still within our 7 day grace period. We didn't break any laws. Nobody can be taken to court. It's all said and good. If it passes that time, though, then we have
Mhm.
to go ahead and start changing the contract. We have to initial and sign for the new close dates and why those dates are happening. So,
Man, that sounds like that'll be a pain in the ass. So let's definitely keep knocking on some wood. I don't want you to go through that, brother.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for real.
Yeah,
So, what is something that you've learned now in your experience in real estate that you wish you would have known when you first started? It's a good.
that's a good one.
Is that a good one? I'll say that's a good. I'll
Yeah.
say I try to get them good. Some good questions.
I would say probably um you don't have to pay for lead sources. So
Mhm.
for people that want to get into real estate and be a real estate agent, starting out, you see a lot of like promotions for Zillow and Realtor where you pay
Mhm.
them X amount of money every month and they go ahead and send you leads every month. That can range from anywhere from like $200, $400 for a couple of leads for the month, all the way up to thousands and tens of thousands of dollars so that you can get consistent and what they would consider hot and ready to buy leads. Um, for a new buyer or something that I wish I would have known, luckily I didn't actually pay for anything, but I didn't utilize the resources I had at my disposal enough. That being, lean on your sphere of influence. Who is it that you know? Who is it that you know that knows that knows that knows someone else? All these people in that uh, chain of people that you might know, they might be ready to buy or they might be ready to sell. And from there, you just got to put your name out there. You got to promote yourself. You got to make sure that you're going up to people, talking to them, shaking their hand, having a good first impression, and really, kind of trying to get to know them and correlate, or excuse me, not correlate, but relate with them so that you have some repertoire. And from there, you can kind of build something that could lead into
Mhm.
a client. So, um,
Definitely. And they always say in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So yeah, those connecting, networking, man. I'm big on that. Like it's
it's
crazy.
important.
Definitely. And so what is some advice that you would give to someone who is on the verge of either saying like, man, I'm think I'm really about to go into becoming an agent, or maybe someone that just started off or just started, I should say.
I would say it's going to be a hard process. The beginning is going to be hard. Um, but at that same note, anything that is good in life never comes easy. So,
Man.
if you want the fruits of your labor to be massive and bountiful, then you got to put in the work. You got to reap what you sow, right? You got to put in
Yeah.
as much as you can, and from there, you're going to start seeing those results. And always remember, real estate is not it is not a I work a 40-hour week and I get my paycheck at the end of the week. No, that is not how this works. Like you might have some weeks where you are hunting for a client, like you are trying to work with somebody. You just can't find anybody. And then there's other times where you have so many clients, you're working an 80-hour work week and you're just like, well, man, I'd like some time for myself. So, um, trying to maintain a balance between all those things. And that would really be more like if you have a surplus of clients, don't be afraid to refer people out. When you do a referral with someone, you can still get a portion of that sale, a commission split. And that would be typically 20 to 30%. And now for a lot of starting agents, that might not sound very appealing, but honestly, I've seen some agents that start up and only do referrals, and they are fine for those first 6 months until they finally start doing their own transactions. Like they are making good, solid
Good.
income. So,
Hey, look, you've been dropping bombs, man, and gems all episode. This is awesome. I cannot wait to get this out there for everybody. So, what are some things that you like to do on your downtime, though, when you're not, hustling constantly? Something that keeps you just, relaxed and get your mind off of real estate.
so I will say, I think this is a big thing for a lot of people. That would be working out. I used to not work out. I used to not really be athletic or fit. I would say I was always like slightly above average in terms of my athleticism, but I never really tried to pursue it that much up until last year. I signed up for Anytime Fitness here in Sanford. Shout out to Anytime Fitness, all the coaches out there, Bernard, Brady, Molly just joined, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. Some new lady just joined as well. But Anytime Fitness, they're great. If you ever want to join them, let me know. I will hook you up. Um,
Awesome.
when I joined, I really wanted to change myself. I wanted to finally like feel more athletic and better. And I had gone rock climbing in the past. I've gone mountain biking in the past, and I really, really loved it. But I didn't have my own equipment or my own gear. So when I joined the gym, I also went out and bought myself a mountain bike. I bought myself a pair of rock climbing shoes, and since then, like now, I work out every morning, Monday through Friday. And I'll also do mountain biking when I can on the mornings because usually those are slower times. Most of my clients are at work, so I have a little bit of free time. And rock climbing for me, it's become almost a ritual almost every Saturday. Sometime during the day, I will go rock climbing. So
Yeah, I think when we were talking about trying to get the interview scheduled, I remember we talked to think about Saturday. He's like, I gotta go rock climbing, and I seen your videos. I would love to put them out there to show. Like, man, you really be getting it. I saw one that you had with just like upper, and you were just like going out. And I was thinking, like in my head, I was watching. I was like, damn, that's impressive. But man, like, where's the harness, man? I'm a clumsy motherfucker. Like, I'm gonna fall or something. Man. I would love to try it, but like, I'm like, how soft is that? Is the ground soft over there? Because I'm like, man, Bryan, you were killing it, man. But I'm like, I'm so clumsy. I know I would slip and oh man.
yeah, it's definitely fun. I always recommend everybody to go and try it out. I've had a few people ask me why I don't wear a harness in my videos. And the reason is what I'm doing, it's called bouldering. That's the specific term. It's a type of rock climbing because there are obviously rocks that you're holding on to. And bouldering, you don't go past 10 feet, maybe 15 feet at some gyms, to actually complete the route or to top out. And once you do, you can feel free to go ahead and jump down. Typically, they have about 6 to 8 inch pads of cushion. So when you land, it's perfectly fine. They
That's good to
actually,
know.
yeah, yeah, for real.
You were wondering that, I bet, I know I was. I
They,
was like, damn, I hope that's padding. Like shit, Ryan, you were just madman.
I will say, the way that I land probably isn't always the best. I tend to like land on my feet and then I let my legs kind of decompress, and kind of go into like a squat position. But the people at the gym, they will say, like, if it's your first time, they'll kind of coach you on what you need to do. And when you're jumping off of the wall, when you're bouldering, they recommend that you kind of do the same type of fall, like if you are doing jujitsu or like other types of martial arts, where you like fall on your back and you almost kind of like slap the
Yeah,
floor to
yeah.
kind of keep your head tucked in. So that
Oh,
way
we
it's
we do
less
that in
damage.
pro wrestling. That's crazy.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's how we learn to fall. Holy shit. I know
Yeah.
that.
So
Look
something along those lines is how you would want to fall.
Oh wow. See, look, I learn something new every day. That's why I love podcasting, just connecting with people, man. You just learn shit.
You never know what you'll learn, man. It's pretty cool.
Facts, man. Facts, bro. And like this is a staple question I love to ask all my guests because I just love the answers that I get. So like what is a favorite or your favorite quote or saying that you lean on during the good times or the bad times?
There's so many, man. Oh my gosh.
It's got to be that one, man. That's just stuck in your head, man. Like I know it, you got it.
I would probably say this one comes from Philip DeFranco, if you know him. It is
Is that the bodybuilding guy?
no, he's a YouTuber that does news.
Okay, okay. I,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
he's a really cool guy. His is stay humble, hustle hard. So
Mm,
stay humble, hustle hard.
that's so true, man. And it's crazy. It's so like quick, but it's so deep. Like that's honestly, I think what's gotten me past 80 something episodes already. I mean, they're not all published yet, but it's coming, peeps. It's just staying humble and hustling constantly. And I can relate to that. That is awesome. That's a good quote.
Heck yeah. I think for the longest time that's been my number one go-to for the majority of the time. I recently I have been listening, and you probably know him from podcasting as well. Jordan Harbinger.
Yep, yep. He's pretty
Yeah.
good. I like him.
His outros are always great. always remember we rise by lifting others. And
Hmm.
that one's very powerful. So I mean, always just trying to help people. So
Definitely, man. I love that. That is a good one. And where can all my peeps find you on social media, or we can even plug in, like if you got a website and everything in the description, I'll put it in the video.
yeah, I'll definitely say the probably the best way to get in contact with me if it's in regards to real estate, you can just go ahead and put my phone number up. That's 919-721-6230. Whether it's a call or a text, just go ahead and let me know, like, what you actually need or what you would like some information on, and I can help you out from there. If you're interested in a little bit more of like my personal stuff, I suppose. You can definitely check out my Facebook page. I do have my reels where I'm rock climbing there and doing a little bit of my, I guess, like athleticism stuff, like the muscle ups and like the flags and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, that's really it. I don't really, everybody keeps telling me I need to get on Instagram. I need to put my stuff on Instagram, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Social media is, I don't know, man. It gets you, and I don't want it to get me. So.
Bro, it's a monster. Like, I hate how much time I have to spend on social media. I only do it just to promote the business, but man, like it's like you're right, man. Just don't let it consume you. that's that's my advice to all my peeps for today. I know Bryan's been killing it with the advice, but man, oh, social media. So, Bryan, thank you so much, man, for being on the People's Choice podcast. I just got a couple more questions and we could wrap up. You've been such a great guest. And I always love to ask about gratitude. Like that keeps me just grounded, keeps my guests grounded, and really just sit back to think about it. And I know this is probably gonna be hard to just do three because most people are like, oh man, I got so much more than three. But I always just ask, three is just such an easy number. So who are three, or what are three things that you are grateful for in your life currently?
I would definitely say number one being I, I want to say newfound because the majority of my life I didn't believe,
Mm-hmm.
but this was since last year, February 5th, when I was baptized. My number one thing that I'm most grateful for is for God. I really like for a long time I rejected him, and just like finally being in a position in my life where like I accept him fully and kind of like having understanding of it, of like with blessings. Like I used to think like blessings had to be something really good and great, and it's like you feel good from it, but I mean reality is a blessing, in my eyes, I'm sure someone could argue with me about this, but I think a blessing is a lesson from God. Um,
Amen. Amen to that, man.
so, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's like you can go and buy that brand new car that you want because you've been working
Mm-hmm.
hard. And the lesson there is if you keep working hard, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And then in other times, the blessing might be that they take your car away. And the lesson there is that, hey, if you don't keep working, you're going to reap what you sow. And what you sowed is not work. So it's one of those things, having that understanding. I'm definitely grateful for that understanding now in my life. Um, I'd say the second thing would be probably my family, my parents in particular. I mean everyone always has a hectic childhood. I don't think anyone's is like perfect, from the richest kid to the poorest kid and everything in between. We all have stories and we all have issues at home,
Facts, man.
but be that as it may, I think my parents, they tried as hard as they could. And now that I'm older, I don't have any kids yet. But I can see from other people who have kids that, or even just like how I react with my dogs, they're not children, but like the level of patience that you have to have for someone that you love unconditionally, and like not really understanding what that meant when you're a kid, and now reflecting on it, like I wasn't the best kid, I wasn't the worst kid, I was just like in between, and they still put up with me and they still loved me and did everything they could for me. So I'm grateful for them. um and for a third thing, I would say I'm grateful for learning how to weld, for a multitude of reasons. I would say the number one reason there is that's where I met my fiance, and it was interesting. She didn't like me at first because I was very annoying. So it's understandable. I am a very annoying person sometimes. Maybe that's why I'm a good real estate agent sometimes. I just keep bugging you. Hey,
Hey, it worked out for you there, right?
right?
Like you got your fiance and you got your job, you know. So
Yeah.
yo,
I learned a solid trade. I believe for a lot of people, um, if you're thinking about getting into real estate or if you're thinking about getting into some kind of a white collar profession, I always promote the idea of trying to do something that is also blue collar as well, so that
Mhm.
you're diversified in yourself and you're more valuable not only to your employer but to yourself, right? I mean, I think about this where it's like, God forbid it ever happens, but say like some kind of crazy disaster happens and like the power grid gets knocked out or something, I know that I can work with my hands, but I also know that enjoying what we have now in our current society, I can also enjoy this white collar job and not be, like encumbered. So I think having both is very, very crucial, and welding definitely helped me with that. So if something ever happens, like you give me a stick welder with a generator, like I mean, I'll weld it up for you, man. Like shoot, let's get it done. So
That is awesome, man. And Bryan, thank you so much for being a guest on the People's Choice, man. You have been killing it with the questions, man. This interview turned out so good. It's been funny. There's been like gems in there, gratefulness, and it's awesome. Wait, what's the last message that you would love to give to all my peeps before we wrap up here?
so I will definitely say, everyone that's watching, definitely stay tuned to Alvin People's podcast. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to get better and better every single time he makes a new episode. I mean, I can just tell like 80 episodes in, dude, like that is not a small feat. Most people they give up so quickly, so easily, and the fact that you're staying committed to it, like you're gonna turn this into something amazing. I'm not saying
Thank
that it's
you,
already great because it is, but it's just gonna keep compounding from there.
thank you,
Um,
brother. Appreciate that.
all the OG fans that are watching,
Yeah.
don't stop watching. Okay, you guys are gonna be the ones that like start putting on the comments like I've been here since 2020. Like just stick around, man, for real. Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, aside from that, thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate the conversation. It was well rounded. I learned a lot. I feel like I shared a lot, and yeah, just thank you so much for the opportunity, man.
And you're so welcome, and thanks all mine. Thank you for being a part of the People's Choice Podcast family. And looking to have you back on, man. Hell, I would love when you get, like I say, your podcast up and running, get a few episodes in, but like, so how's podcast? Say like, we'll talk about that. And if you got other, future projects or anything, man, it's a big community here. They always say it takes a village to raise a family. I feel it takes, a village to also help people get to the next level as well. So
Right.
you got my support 100%, brother.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alvin.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for all my peeps watching. Make sure you check out Bryan. I put on all his contact information and description, and of course, in the video as well. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you hit that star. If you're an Apple Podcast, leave a review. Hit us up on any social media. We'll listen and we'll respond because, we're all peeps in here. We're all looking out for each other. So, Bryan, thanks again, brother. And you have a great day.
You too, man. Take it easy.